Hello there everybody, Sam Strains here, welcome back to the Railway and welcome back to another review, this time of one of my absolute favourite Hornby tank engines. So I think today's model may well be unique, and I think that because it was first released way back in 1980, that is 40 years ago, and the amazing and unique part is that Hornby still have it in their range today. Now you might say, well, that's not particularly unusual, they have loads of old models in their railroad range, but that's just it. This model is not in their railroad range, it's in their main range. And the loco is this. It is the Fowler 264T or 4P tank engine. As I say, one of my absolute favourites. I think it's just the wheel configuration that does it. It's like a backwards Pacific almost in tank engine form. I just think it's gorgeous. Now, as I say, yes, Hornby still have this in their range today. When this was announced, well, when it was released for the very first time back in 1980, it cost around, what was it, £19? It cost £19.50. And if you adjust that to today's money, that's about £94, something like that. Well, safe to say it's not as cheap as that anymore. On Hornby's website, it costs £140.99, which is obviously an awful lot of money. Retailers like Rails of Sheffield have them much cheaper. Rails of Sheffield have them on order for £109 something, 95 or something like that. So if you want to check those out, I've got an affiliate link down in the description. Today's mission then is going to be to find out whether this tank engine is at home in the Hornby main range. Is it worth the money? Is it worth 110 quid? And your question is going to be, can you tell that this was first released in 1980? Does it look old to you? As soon as you know, let me know down in the comments. I should say that it has seen some updates over the years. It now has sprung buffers and a new chassis and a much better motor, etc. So it's not exactly the same as the 1980 model, but I believe the basic body is the same. So let's get this out, let's find out what this is like, and let's hope it's a good one. So there we go, and as you can see by the packaging, mine was made a few years ago. Yes, it's a little bit different to the modern Hornby packaging. Of course, I've actually had one of these for many years. The last one I had though, the chassis failed on it unfortunately, and what I did was I replaced the chassis with an old original 1980s chassis, which, don't get me wrong, don't run as well as the modern ones do, but they are a little bit more reliable. I'm hoping to have a bit better luck with this one though. I have had this out obviously back last year when I bought it, and I've serviced it, made sure that it's working as it should be, and touch wood, well, touch the box, touch cardboard, it seems that this one is going to be good, so fingers crossed that will be the case. Let me show you the end of the box then. So the product number of mine is R2224. It's an LMS Fowler 264T, Class 4P locomotive, and there's the running number there, 2311. This one looks beautiful, as you can tell, in the LMS maroon. I believe the one in Hornby's current range is a BR black version, which actually is super smart. So as I say, check those out if you'd like to. As per the slightly older packaging, we don't have any info on the class on the back, although don't worry, I will give you a bit of history on these in a second. So let's get this out then, and I will show it to you. If I can remember correctly, and it's been a long while since I've actually seen this model, you would never be able to guess that this was 40 years old. Yes, it's had some upgrades and such, but even so, the quality and the detail on the bodywork is really not too bad. Is it up to modern standards? Could you persuade me? Could you convince me that this was made in 2020? I don't think so, if I remember correctly, but let's have a look and find out. So there it is. It's in the styrofoam block, which obviously isn't very modern packaging. I assume a modern version you bought would come in the block of ice or blister pack. We have this, the brake rigging here, which I believe came separately. For some reason it's not in a bag. Maybe I took it off to make servicing easier and didn't put it back on. Maybe when I bought it, it wasn't fitted, so I kept it that way. I've no idea. We've also got a detailed bag here. I'm not sure what's inside. Let's take a look. Okay, so it looks as though we have some steps to fit if you wanted to. We have a tension lock coupling, which has the Dapple/Airfix type of connector on it. Again, I believe the latest version will be a NEM. And then you've also got a screw link coupling inside there as well, which is quite nice. So, yep, that's not too bad at all. There's some stuff to do there if you want to. We have the operating and maintenance instructions here, and incredibly, my model was made in 2003. Which means that these were obviously upgraded upgraded to have their new mechanism before 2003, assuming, of course, that is the date. Anyway, let's open this up. There we go. You can see, yeah, very, very simple stuff here. There's a little bit about lubrication to remove the locomotive body. Yeah, that's fine. And you can see we have that beautiful large 5-pole cam motor inside, which is fantastic. And yes, these days they are DCC ready. I believe that even might be a very early DCC socket, which is strange if this is 2003. And then on the back, yes, there is a bit about fitting the brake rods. So that's all included, which is good. Right, let's grab the loco then. It's quite easy to do. There are holes in the back, but this body makes it easy just to pull out. Right, there we go. And is it just me, or does this thing just look super duper smart? I absolutely love this thing. Yeah, the detail's not astonishing, and it's not going to be, is it, if it's 40 years old? But to be fair with you, I just think it looks great. Am I being biased? Am I missing the mark there? Possibly. But for me personally, yeah, this is just gorgeous, typical LMS really. So there we go, there's a close look at that. We will now have some history on the class, and then I will show you this in a bit more detail. Introduced in 1927 and designed by Henry Fowler, the 4P264Ts were intended for long-distance passenger work around London, but they were also known to haul goods trains in the area as well. 125 were built over 7 years, and the design featured 2 outside cylinders, Wolf-Schultz valve gear and large 200 psi superheated boilers. Despite their relatively modest size, they were known to achieve speeds of up to 80 miles per hour, and they went down as an outstandingly successful design. Withdrawal took place between 1959 and 1966, and sadly none were preserved. In 2014, though, it was proposed that a new build project was to take place in order to recreate one of the class to carry the running number 42424, which is an interesting number. I'm not too sure if that plan is still going ahead, but it certainly would be nice, wouldn't it? So there it is then, the Fowler 4P up close and personal for you, and as you can tell, despite its age, this is an absolutely gorgeous model. Now amazingly, I've actually been able to find one of the much older bodies back from the 1980s, and it is amazing to see how Hornby have upgraded that old body to bring it up to modern standards. Some of the changes there are astonishingly good. In fact, it's by far the most extensive revamp I've ever seen from a Hornby loco, but we'll get to that as we look at the details. First thing to talk about though is the weight. Now, as was usual with locos back in the 1980s, die-cast on the bodywork or the running plate or anything like that was completely unheard of. And as a result, this loco's body is entirely plastic, even despite being a little bit more modern. And the weight comes only from the chassis, really. And as a result, yes, it's not very heavy. This weighed in at about 276 grams, well, exactly 276 grams, which really isn't an awful lot for a loco of this size. So how much of a good puller it will be, I'm not entirely sure. Now let's take a look at some of the details then. So as you can see, the painted details are really quite good. We have the LMS logo on the side, which is just perfectly applied, even though this was done in 2003. It's really, really good. So is the running number on the side of the coal bunker, of course, and also we have the tiny little LMS builder's plate. Now if I compare that with the 1980s model, you can see the paintwork is nowhere near as good and refined. In fact, the builder's plate on the 80s version is just a sort of gold disc on the side. There's nothing on it whatsoever, which is crazy. Another nice modern touch is that the wheels are lined here. As you can see, the driving wheels, the front pony, the rear bogie, all beautifully lined, which is really, really good to see. And actually, it's not done badly either. It's really quite impressive. There is quite a lot of lining on this. As you can see, the cylinders have been lined. It's really quite an unusual colour, isn't it, if you think about it? Yeah, the yellow on the red. Unusual, but I must say it works. And then obviously all around the cab, you've got this yellow lining all around the tanks. Pretty much looks up to modern standards, doesn't it? Even though this is 10 plus years old. Really not bad at all. Detail then, there's quite a lot of nice things to see. I mean, we've got a few metal parts, don't get me wrong. We have the safety valves here and the whistle, which are die-cast, made of metal, which is great to see. These days, all of the handrails on the model are wire and separately fitted. You can see there's one around the back there on the back of the bunker. On the front and sides of the smoke box, all the handrails are separately fitted, as are the lamp irons on the smoke box door. And again, if I show you the old smoke box door, you can see that is very, very different. All of the detail is just moulded on there. This model has lamp irons, as you can see. This is the new one again. Lamp irons, yep, the old version never had any lamp irons, so that's great to see. And down on the buffer beam you can see loads of riveted detail. We have the vacuum pipes pre-fitted, and we also have these very beautiful, very large oval shaped buffers which are sprung. Look at that. Made of metal too, which is very different to the 1980s model, which had plastic buffers which were not that great looking, and they certainly weren't sprung. One really unfortunate feature though is that the wheels, or rather the ends of the axles, haven't been blanked out, which isn't very realistic, and that is true with all sort of 6 axles, unfortunately. Obviously for the age that isn't terrible, but these days you'd want them covered up, so I'd be interested to know whether the latest release of this from Hornby does have any improvement in that area. The side of the smoke box has quite a lot of apparatus fitted to it. As you can see, much of it is separately fitted, and those details were actually present on the original model, which is pretty good to see. A lot of the details on the top of the tanks though are just moulded on, and that is a really good clue that this model is older than it pretends to be. The cab though is far more impressive than the original version. As you can see, we do have the wire handrails once again on the side. A popular criticism of this model is that the cab floor is way too high, and I would agree with that. That does look a little bit unconvincing, doesn't it? But the cab makes up for itself in a couple of areas. First of all, we have the opening intake, which again, on the top of the model there, has been added since the 1980s. That was not an original feature, so somebody's done some pretty interesting engineering to get that to work. And inside the cab you can see we do have some detail picked out. Now it is very basic, it looks as though various components have just been painted gold, but given how enclosed the cab is, I think that is reasonably good actually. All of the cab's windows are glazed, as you can see on the front, which is a nice realistic feature, and the ones on the back there, as you can see, have that grille effect to them, which I think is beautiful. Really well done is that. The coal load is relatively realistic as well. I don't think that's removable. It could be, but I've never been able to get them out. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Again, even the coal has been upgraded, which is astonishing from the 80s version. You can tell there the differences are very, very noticeable. And then around the back, as you can see, we have some signage there, presumably about the capacity of the water tanks. I'll try and get a close-up so that you can see. And we have the slim tension lock couplings pre-fitted, which aren't NEM on this version, but I expect, I can't guarantee, but I expect any recent release of this will have NEM couplings. Finally then, as you can see, we do have nice realistic looking valve gear, which is really quite complex on this model. Again, that is obviously much different to the 1980s model, way more refined as you can tell, and if I remember correctly, it does look fantastic when the model runs. So I think we'll get to that next. I don't think there's an awful lot more to talk about. I hope at least you get a sense of the level of detail on these. So with that, let's talk about performance and get it running. Okay, so there she is then, number 2311 down onto the track, looking fantastic, and I have to say I'd forgotten how good these models were. They really are, aren't they? It's definitely not true that all of the best models were released over the last couple of years or so. This one is truly impressive, and mechanically speaking, it is no exception. This ticks all of the boxes. So as we saw from the diagram, this contains a really high quality 5-pole motor. It's the same motor that a lot of Hornby's Pacifics and other quality engines used at the same sort of time. Really, really good stuff. The wheel set has a proper set of turned metal bearings, which is fantastic. It's just such a good quality mechanism. The pickups, there are pickups on all of the driving wheels, so that's 6 pickups, none of the bogie or truck wheels pickup or anything like that. And as a result, you will see it stick a little bit on a couple of my express points, but it's nothing too bad at all. If anything, if you've ever tried to service one of these, you might know what I mean, but it's awkward to get the pickups back in place. They don't seem to be a perfect fit. However, once they're in and they're making a connection, they do seem to be reliable. So with that then, let me do a bit of slow speed testing for you. And yeah, if I remember correctly, these are very, very good. So set it to forwards. Yep, we're already set. Start turning up real slow. Here we go. And as you can see, it's going. Pretty, yeah, not dreadfully slow. Let's see if we can get it to go a little bit slower than that. Wow. Would you look at that, folks? That is just crazy. Can you see what a difference a good motor can make? That is unbelievably slow, isn't it? Incredible. And perfectly smooth as well. There's no sort of, I don't know, you know how some locos speed up and slow down at different parts of the rotation? Absolutely none of that with this. It's just beautifully smooth. It truly is one of the best runners I've ever seen, without any shadow of a doubt. Right, well, we haven't actually seen it sort of slowly crawl forwards, so let's just try that just to prove that it can. Obviously it's been run in. Yes, it can. Look at that. And the other thing about it is it's not silent as it runs, but it's as close as you get. Let me get really close to the track. You ready? There's zero motor noise, absolutely zero. All you can hear is literally just the wheels clanking over the rail joins, and you can hear the sort of linkage, I guess, and the coupling rods just moving over each other. It's just so good and quiet. And that's not the best of it. The pulling force is incredible. I measured a pulling force of 0.54 newtons, which is like more than the Bachmann Class 45. It's insane. Bearing in mind this loco does not weigh a lot. It weighs 276 grams, as I've said. It's incredibly light, but it just pulls incredibly well. So obviously the material of the wheels allows for an awful lot of friction. Yeah, the pulling force is incredible. There's about 32 coaches on straight and level track, which is astonishing. So on the subject of coaches, as you can see, I've set up quite a big load. There are 8 coaches there, and obviously some pretty hefty locos have struggled on Gordon's Hill with that many coaches, and I wonder whether this one will, he says, possibly already knowing the answer because he tested it a few minutes ago. Right, well, set this into reverse and find out, shall we? Yeah, I'm not a good actor. Here we go, let's try it. All right, and I should also say that this loco does not have a flywheel. It's just that good, it's that controllable, that smooth, even without one. Right, are we coupled? Yes, I think we are. Right, with that then, let me set this to around 40% speed, and I'll show you this on Gordon's Hill. 8 coaches then, here we go, keep your eyes peeled for wheel slip. And don't forget, this is a relatively small locomotive, and look at that, just absolutely nailed it. No wheel slip, nothing like that. Incredible. Such a good runner. Yeah, amazing performance. One of the best ever, I would say. Just fantastic. It's the gold standard, and it's 10 plus years old. So today's theme is going to be LMS marooned liveried locos, so keep your eye out for some of those and let me know if you spot any odd ones out. On the middle line though, we have this one. This is the exact same loco. In fact, it has the exact same body, except it has the original chassis. So this is the chassis, very typical of the 1980s version. It's got the big chunky valve gear and the XO3 motor inside. This is the version that originally failed, the chassis, the original chassis that is, failed on me. So I actually took an old chassis and put the new body onto it. So it's an old chassis, new body, quite a unique circumstances that. But yeah, hopefully you can see the difference in performance. It's noisier, still pretty good and slow, if I show you that. It's not yeah, not as good as the new version, but not bad. She's got some wagons, because they did do goods from time to time, I think. And then finally, on the inside line, another beautiful LMS locomotive. It is, where is it? There it is, the Patriot, with a bit of a Pullman train. This is a Bachmann Patriot. Also a very beautiful loco. So enjoy the running session. Let's see how the 4Ps are getting on. Not very well. It's cut out on the points. So let me know, folks, am I exaggerating, or is the performance on this as good as I'm thinking it is? I can't remember the last time I saw a loco ran this nicely, so let me know in the poll. I don't think it can be argued that it's an incredibly powerful loco, though. That number of coaches up Gordon's Hill is astonishing. Listen to the noise of that old version there. Yeah, Hornby did an amazing job. Credit where credit's due in upgrading those. A very inelegant stop there on the points, not to worry. Maybe the quality of the performance here is a bad thing, because it almost certainly suggests that they don't make them like that anymore. You know, the fact that I'm looking at a loco that I think is made in 2003 and it outperforms all the locos that I bought this year, brand new, yeah, maybe it's not such a good thing, but I ain't complaining today. I'm pretty happy today. So here are some of my ratings then for the Fowler 4P264 tank, and I've got to say this has been a real pleasant surprise. It's actually a fantastic model, as you can see. So the detail, I've given this a 4-star. It is much better than the original release. The only way I'd really mark it down is because of the cab. Yeah, the cab detail was painted, but not absolutely fantastic, and of course the ends of the axles weren't painted. Those are the two major issues I can think of, and in the grand scheme of things, they're not that major, so the detail's really good. Performance is fantastic as well. It can do a reasonably good crawl. It's very quiet and very smooth, as you've seen. It is a tad unreliable on point work. The pickups are just a little bit on the unreliable side, but besides that, the performance is fantastic. Power though is astonishing. This is more powerful than my 9Fs. It's even more powerful than my Class 45s from back in 32 coaches. Just incredible. So very powerful. The mechanism is also fantastic. It just ticks all the boxes, as I've said. The 5-pole motor, full bearings, all those pickups on all the driving wheels. It's just a wonderful mechanism, really good. The quality then is generally very good. It's sturdily built, well assembled, all of that stuff. The only thing I would say is that it is a little bit plasticky. Obviously there's no die cast on the body or anything like that, and so it is a little bit on the light side, but as we've seen from the performance, that does not affect its ability to haul a really big long train, so that's great. Value for money then, obviously today the RRP is £140.99, which is a bit on the expensive side, although as I say, from retailers such as Rails of Sheffield, you can pick these up for £109.50, and when you think that is about the same as I paid for the Bachmann E1, which was a much smaller tank engine, I don't think that's terrible, so I've given this a 4-star. Overall then, that is a very good score of 8 out of 10, and into the logbook it goes, and good gracious, it is top. Even above the E1. Well, yeah, that has been a surprise. I did not expect when I started this review that this model would be coming out on top, but it has, and wonderful it is as well. Really enjoyed this one. You can definitely see how chunky those coupling rods and the valve gear are. Compared with the new version, much more realistic, isn't it, that? Yeah. By a country mile, pretty much. Just look at the lack of hesitation there. I'm going to slow it right down, actually, and try it dead slowly, so that it won't have momentum on its side. That'll be a good test, won't it? Okay, so now it has pretty much zero momentum on its side. And, oh, it's even speeding up. It's speeding up on the most difficult part of the layout. And there is no noticeable wheel slip there. Look at that, and I haven't taken any coaches off as a secret trick. They are all still there. It's an amazing performer. So today has been an amazingly pleasant surprise. I had completely forgotten how good these 4P locos are. But as you can tell, they really are, and I hope that the latest release of them is as good. I'm guessing it will be, they won't have changed it for the worse. So if you want to pick one up, yep, we have a link down in the description, and let me know what it's like if you decide to get one. For now though, thank you for your company, thanks for watching. I do hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm thrilled to bits with that. I'm going to run it more often, I reckon. But for now though, that is all. I'm going to let her rest, and I will see you very soon on the next one. So have a great week folks, and I will see you when I see you. Cheers everybody.